Hi guys, today we will discuss about action filters in MVC. Action filters in MVC. What are the action filters we have? Why we need action filters? What is the purpose of action filters? We'll see now. Okay. So in MVC, we have different types of action filter like authentication filter, authorization filter, result filter, exception filter, like that. Okay. So now let's see one by one how these filters will work. So the basic purpose of filters, okay, to execute the filtering logic either before or after action get executes. That is the purpose of action filters. So we have action filters. The purpose of action filters to implement or to execute some logic before and after action get executes. That is the purpose of action filters we'll use in MVC. Now, what are the different types of action filters we have? Let's see one by one. Authorization filter. What is this authorization filter? It will check whether the user will have the permissions or not. Roles. Whether the user will have the access to, will have the particular rights to access this particular resource. And we have a action filter, so which will execute, and we have in .NET Core resource filter, action filter, result filter, exception filter. What is this resource filter will check? It will check, it can be like global exception handling, a response modification, if you want to do global exception handling, or you want to change the response to process the request, HTTP request or global logging. These particular scenarios, we can use this resource filter, and action filter executes before and after action get, before and after. Once action will get execute, that particular time this action filter will execute. Result filter. So for example, you get some result, you want to process before sending it to the client. That particular time we can go for the result filter. This will execute after action get executed, but the result, but before a result is processed and sent to the client. If you want to process something, if you want to change something before sending to the client, this particular scenario, we can go for a result filter. After action get execute, you want to change something before sending to the client. This particular time, we can go for the result filter. And then we have an exception filter, like custom error pages, like for example 404 unauthorized, okay, 500 internal server error, some type of exception. If you want to show some page, so to show that particular custom error pages, we will go for this exception filter. So and you want to do any logging and reporting, so these are all the when exception get occurred. When exception get occurs, this filter will get executed. Okay, this is called exception filter. So now, what is the real world advantages we need? We can do advantages are like logging, validation, catching, security, and exception handling. These are all the purpose why we go for a action filters in MVC. So now let's create these filters. So I'll go to my MVC application. So these are very important, guys, action filters. So these action filters we have in MVC as well as web API. So here I'll create one folder. I'll name it as something like add folder filters. I'll name it like this. So right click, add one class. So I'll name it like a authorization filter. You no need to create. It can create automatically. I'll create now a action filter. Custom action filter. So once I create the class like this, so now what will happen? It is derived from I action filter like this. So now it will ask you to implement the interface. I'll implement the interface. So once we derive from this I action filter interface, by default, we have two methods. What is that? On action executed, on action executing like this. Okay. So now what I'll do, if you want to log something, you can log here, or you need to implement some logic here, you can implement your logic. So this is action filter, which will execute. This will execute while on action executing. This will execute on action executed. Once action get executed, this will execute. For example, there is one more way. If you want to implement this asynchronous, so if you want to implement this asynchronous, then you want to do that task return type. For example, public class custom action filter, custom async action filter. E async async action filter. Okay, so this. So now it will ask you to implement the interface. So once you implement the interface, by default, it will implement like this. What is the return type here? Task. So either this is synchronous and this is asynchronous. So what is the synchronous? Return type will be task. And if you want to return something, you want to do the await here. Async. So here you have to do the await. Next. So like this, you need to implement. So this is about our action filter. So similarly, I'll create. So and once you have added this action filter, you have added. So then you have to add the filter scope. So where you want to add this. So for example, if you go here, program.cs, here, so you can add here. Similarly like this. With the help of builder services, you could able to add that filters here. So now once you have added here, then you need to call in the controller. So where controller, like for example, you have a login controller or home controller. Before this, for example, I want to check here something like let's implement same thing there. Logger. So I want to implement some log here where custom action filter. So here, if you want to capture something, logger dot log. So you can give log level message name, log level event ID message arguments, log level exception message, like this. So for me, I want log level and the message, for example, on action executing. I just want this. So remaining things are optional. What is that? Arguments. These are message is also optional. This is also optional. So nullable. It can allow null value as well. So now what is log level here? So there are many things inside it. Trace, debug, or information true. So as of now, what we are giving information. So what I'll give log level dot information. So this is information. Just we are giving some information here. So this is on action executing. Executing. This is executed. So now we have this logs. So this is how we can implement this, and we need to call this. Where you need to call. For example, you want to call before controller. So now you need to add this namespace. Why namespace is not coming? Public. Why there? Okay, that is only there. Something addition. Authorization. If you want to check, you can check like this. Authorize. This also should work. Why it's not working? You try to implement from your end. Okay. Let's see if you are also facing same issue. Okay. So we have added like this. Now we no need, since we have added this global level, we no need to add here. So as of now, I don't want authorize as well. Now check whether these filters are hitting or not. I'll go here. I'll keep a debugger here. I'll keep a debugger here. And I'll run my index action. Let's run this application now. Builder. Let's remove here as well. So now it is coming on action executing. Before executing, it's hitted our action filter. So now it is come to action. Once it is get executed, the action executed like this, it will come. So this is about action filters in MVC. So, in debug